In this demo, we're going to configure folder redirection, use Sync Center, and work with offline files. We're going to start off on our domain controller to configure it to participate in folder redirection. And to do so, we're going to create a folder for the redirected content. We'll call this folder Redirected. And then we'll configure its properties to be compatible with our needs. On the Security tab, we're going to give the domain users read and write permissions. And on the Sharing tab, we're going to share the folder, and we're going to specify the domain users group and give them read-write permissions as well. So the folder is now shared and properly configured to be used with folder redirection. Now let's create a group policy object that will enable folder redirection. So go to our Group Policy Management console, go into our domain, go to the Group Policy Objects container, and create a new group policy object. Let's call it Folder Redirection. Let's link our folder redirection GPO to the marketing OU. Now that that's done, let's edit the GPO to actually enable folder redirection. We'll go to User Configuration, Policies, Windows Settings, Folder Redirection. If we expand that, you'll see all the folders that are eligible to be redirected. We'll go to the Documents folder. We're going to specify the basic setting, and then we're going to specify the redirected folder over there on DC1 using, whack LON DC1 whack redirected. We're going to ignore the warning, and that's it. That's all we have to do for folder redirection to work properly. And we're going to do a quick GP update just for good measure. And before we leave DC1, we're going to do one last thing. We're going to take a look, make sure that there's nothing in our redirected folder. It should be empty at this point, and it is. Okay, let's transition on over to CL1, where user Ada will log in. And user Ada apparently is logging in for the first time, as evidenced by these screens we're seeing. Okay. User Ada is going to go to the Documents folder and create a file. We'll call this file Ada. We'll add some content to the file. And a simple save, we'll save it in its current location, but as we know, that current location has actually been redirected to a folder on the domain controller, as evidenced by a quick peek at the properties, and we see the location is indeed our redirected folder location with the Ada subfolder. The Offline Files tab tells us a story. This file is online. meaning there's a communication channel between DC1 and CL1 right now. Let's navigate over to Control Panel. And we'll open Sync Center. And there's some information you can learn about the synchronization process. There's a list of synchronization results, not very many since we just started doing this. And there's also a place to manage offline files, control how offline files, works and what you can do with them and other aspects. Now we're going to unplug CL1 from the switch, and that was an indication that we're doing it virtually through Hyper-V. So now we're going to go into our Documents folder, and Ada is going to create a new file. Now remember, we're disconnected from the network. So you might be surprised to see, when we look at the properties, that it's still at the redirected location. However, offline files tells another story. It's offline with unsynced changes. All right then. So let's plug CL1 back into the switch. And let's go take a look at the redirected folder. And there's the Ada folder, or the Documents folder, and inside there you will find those two files, including file 1, which was created offline. Now let's transition over to CL2. So Ada is signing on to CL2, and when Ada goes into her Documents folder, we will see that both files are indeed there. Another successful demo. See you next time.